A lot of videos say that if you find yourself in a toxic relationship with a narcissist, you should leave and go no contact. But what if you can't? At least not now. And there are many reasons why this may be. Perhaps you're in a job or you have to interact with a boss or a coworker who is a narcissist, or maybe there is a family member or someone in your church or in your life, and you know that if you were to leave, there would be a big price to pay, because maybe God is accomplishing a higher purpose with your presence in that environment. So, how can you be in a relationship with a narcissist and avoid all the strife that comes with it? In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 ways that you can disarm a narcissist while you have to be in the same environment as one. Now, first, before we get into it, for those of you who are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Shaneen Megji. I'm a transition coach. Welcome to my channel called Toxicity is Not Your Destiny, where I put out weekly videos on how to navigate toxic relationships with narcissists in your life from a biblical, practical, and spiritual perspective. So if you like this video and if you would like to receive regular content from me, click on that subscribe button and click on the bell so that you can be the first to know every time I upload a video. So without further ado, let's dive into the subject. Romans 12:18 says, if possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. So wherever the onus is on us, we need to practice living in peace with others. Now, this does not mean that you should be a people pleaser and not rock the boat when the boat needs to be rocked, because keeping a false sense of harmony when issues should be confronted is just as toxic as staying in a relationship with full-on abuse. So the 5 tips I'm about to share shortly are not to advocate for a false sense of peace. Sometimes keeping true peace is more about confronting and fighting. So remember that. However, it is inevitable that you are going to be exposed to toxic people among family members, work circles, church circles, social circles, and you'll have to interact with them or work for them or interface with them in some way. And there are times when you cannot simply avoid them or go no contact or fight or confront, because there are bigger issues at play. God may be doing a higher work, an eternal work, that requires you to be in that situation for a season. And if that is the case, then you can count on it that God is also going to empower you with the grace to handle it, and He will give you the strength and the wisdom to go through it because you are trusting God and because He has a reason for you being in that situation. You are a spirit being with a supernatural God, so there is an X factor at play in your relationship with the narcissist that psychology books do not talk about. Now, I just want to add that just because God may give you the strength to endure some abuse for a season in your life does not mean He condones the abuse coming at you, or that He is giving the narcissist a license to abuse you, or that is the end state that God has for you. God is not sadistic that way. His plans are not to harm you, but to prosper you. His word says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." Sometimes there is some suffering that God allows in our lives on the path to our prosperity, and He even uses the difficult circumstances around us, even if He doesn't condone them nor author them. So God is a master economist, and He uses everything He can in our circumstances to make us more like Him and to lead us into His purpose. And so even if you are not in a position to confront the narcissist in your life, it doesn't mean the narcissist should not be confronted. And that may come in due time, and God will see to it, and He will see to the how and the when. God may not confront the narcissist right away, but at this time, God may be seeking to accomplish a higher purpose in your life or someone else's life by choosing to work around and with the narcissist's free will, by giving you supernatural grace and strength to withstand any verbal beratings of a narcissist, or perhaps by giving you favor with a narcissist. Now, that being said, if being around a narcissist poses a danger to you or people in your care, you do need to get out of there. Even King David in the Bible fled when he realized King Saul, his father-in-law and the king, was out to kill him. But that aside, if God has you around a narcissist, trust him to keep you and to also keep you grounded in his peace. And these tips I'm about to share are to help you to follow Jesus' teachings of being in the world, but not of the world. Because while you are in the world, especially in these times, you are going to encounter more and more toxic people. Because according to 1 Timothy 3, verses 1 to 5, narcissism will be a pandemic in the end times. The scripture says this, but mark this, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. So when it comes to dealing with a narcissist, there are two things to keep in mind. I'm going to share these two things and then I'm going to get right into the 5 tips because you need to know these two things in order to do the 5 things I'm about to share effectively. Number 1, if a narcissist smells a negative emotion coming from you at them, their anger or negativity against you will escalate very quickly. I mean, they can go from 0 to 100 almost immediately. And number 2, narcissists are enemy-focused people. They are highly sensitive to anyone that could criticize, find fault, or challenge them. So, keeping these two things in mind, the goal right away when you meet a narcissist is to posture yourself as someone who is on their side and for them, rather than someone who is going to challenge or criticize or find fault with anything they do. Because the moment they can smell that, you could be the target of their rage, their abuse, and rejection and punishment. So with all that being said, it would also be worth your while to communicate with them from a posture of peace and calmness. Proverbs 15:1 says, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." I'm telling you, this can go a long ways with a narcissist. If you can speak to them in a gentle tone all the time, no matter what, by God's grace, it will revolutionize your relationship with them and win you favor. So let's get into the 5 ways that you can disarm a narcissist. Number 1, learn as much as you can about them and show genuine interest in something they are doing, even if this person is toxic and not someone you would enjoy being around. If you can zone in on some interest that you and the narcissist have in common, it will go a long way in disarming them. This shows a narcissist that you and them have a common interest and therefore you're on a similar page rather than you being a potential threat. This can cause you to have favor and be the recipient of their generosity and massively lower the risk of being seen as a villain or someone that is going to challenge them and thereby cause them to default into their enemy-focused thinking. Number 2, think about some things you actually do like about the narcissist because he or she is bound to also have some good qualities. And ask the Holy Spirit to help you with this if this is not an easy task. Genuinely compliment them on something. Find something positive about them or something that they're doing, even if it is not that profound, and even if you have a list of grievances against them. Remember, the grievances are not the point. Your goal is to try and build a bridge on the commonalities that you both share. Narcissists are image conscious. If you compliment them, they are likely to feel so much better because there's an alignment between the way they view themselves and what you are saying to them or what you're saying about them. Number 3, when you are inclined to set a boundary, instead of saying a flat out no or putting a limit, find another alternative to help serve the narcissist's purpose, provided it's not something that violates God's purpose or damages other people. Narcissists hate boundaries and they hate limits. These things can set them off into a narcissistic rage. So instead of a flat-out refusal, say things like, well, let me see what I can do, and then find some other offer. By responding this way, it shows an alliance with them and a supportive attitude rather than them perceiving you as being resistant, as being against them, and therefore their enemy. Number 4, actively listen to them when they talk and believe they have something valuable to say, even if they are narcissistic and they have a hard heart and they lie and manipulate and deceive. If you are dealing with a boss who happens to also be very intelligent and further along in a discipline than you, Take notes of what they're saying and do this authentically and sincerely. Many narcissists are highly sensitive, so they can smell when someone isn't authentic. So sincere, active listening goes a long way with a narcissist. They will feel safe and they will feel like they can have a monologue with you, and you will drink in what they say, which deeply feeds their sense of significance. And it also would serve to build a bridge. Number 5, when the narcissist is feeling down or frustrated, remind him or her of his or her strengths and speak about what you admire or like about them. Remind them of their goals and visions, and this will cause the narcissist to feel deeply supported and affirmed, which goes a long way. So these were just 5 tips on how to disarm a narcissist. If you find yourself having to relate or work with one and you want to build a bridge and be on the side of favor with them while you're temporarily in that situation. So remember, these 5 tips are not about kissing up to a narcissist or being manipulative yourself. These steps will only work if you come at them from a place of authenticity and peace. We know the narcissist may well be demonized and operating out of a false self because of childhood wounds and traumas. But as you are doing these 5 steps, you may find it helpful to remind yourself that you are seeking to connect with the narcissist's true self without their demons. And if you are thinking that and feeling that, that will be the vibe that you give off to the narcissist, which will disarm them because they pick up that sincerity, which will hopefully pave the way for trust and favor. Now that said, you may never connect with the narcissist's true self, even though you're seeking to do that, because the narcissist has walled himself off completely. So don't get your hopes up with expecting to go there. But just having the attitude of genuinely wanting to go there and connect with the real person and choosing not to see the narcissist's demons in this scenario does go a long way. Now, is there biblical precedence for this? The answer is yes. Daniel in the Old Testament was called highly favored by God. I mean, angels came in response to his prayers, and the Lord himself even appeared to him to give him these amazing end-time apocalyptic visions, very similar to what John the Apostle received about the book of Revelation. Now, Daniel was called to work for a narcissistic king named King Nebuchadnezzar, and one day King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream about a massive tree stump, and the only person that could interpret that dream was Daniel. And the interesting thing about it all was that the dream was revealing that God was about to judge King Nebuchadnezzar for his massive pride and arrogance and send him out into the wild to live like a crazy, insane man for 7 years until he could acknowledge that it is God who is the God of the universe and not him. Can you imagine? The level of pride and arrogance that Nebuchadnezzar had required him to live in the wild for 7 years and lose his palace and even lose his sanity in order to be sufficiently humble to acknowledge God. And what was Daniel's response to all of this? He didn't say, "Finally, it's about time God deals with your narcissistic attitude. All the staff here have been suffering from your over-the-top rages and your unfair treatment of the staff who have been more loyal to you than anyone. We've been praying for God to deal with you and vindicate us." Well, Daniel never said that to Nebuchadnezzar when he was interpreting his dream, and not because it wasn't true. It's possible many of the staff and advisors in the king's palace were praying that, but it was not the right thing for Daniel to say, because Daniel's assignment was not to pour fuel on the existing fire, but to carry God's heart and mind for the king in the situation. So his response was actually, "Oh king, I wish this weren't happening to you." So it just shows that while Daniel was on assignment from God to work in King Nebuchadnezzar's palace, he sought to build bridges in order for God to fulfill his higher purpose. And he didn't take the onus upon himself to confront the king, but he left that job in God's hands. Now, I realize this message is not for everyone. Some of you watching may need to be like Daniel in your difficult situation, and this message is for you. Others of you may need to leave the narcissist and go no contact, and others may need to confront the narcissist like David did with Goliath. So please watch and listen to this video with a discerning ear, asking God what he would have you do specifically. There's another video I created called Should I Stay or Should I Go?, which also gives some teaching on how to know whether you should stay or leave a narcissist. So I would highly encourage you to watch that video alongside this video. Now, shifting gears, if you are thinking of leaving or have left a toxic environment and you're in a season of transition, check out a free training I have put together. It is all about 3 key ways to navigate a transition. These are things that brought a massive breakthrough in my life when I was going through a difficult transition. I have included the link below. If you would like to see more content from me and have not subscribed yet, click on that subscribe button and click on the bell so that you can get the alerts, because every single week I will be posting a new video to empower you in navigating toxic relationships in your life. And if you like the video, please give it a like. This helps me to know what kind of content I should produce for you. And if you have suggestions of topics you would like me to cover, please feel free to drop your ideas in the comment section. And this brings me to the end of my video. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.